Crispy shredded Szechuan beef. That's today's recipe. It's one from my childhood, one that we got in a Chinese takeaway. So to be honest with you, I don't know how authentic this is. The version that I'm making reminds me of the Chinese takeaway when I was a kid. First things first, beef. I'm using a piece of topside beef. I'm going to talk to you about grains of beef and bore you for a second. If you have a look really closely at this meat, you'll see that the grains are running along this way. Now, for crispy shredded beef, it's cut into sort of 10 centimeter strips roughly. So I'm cutting with the grain for my strips. And I'm going about a centimeter thick. You don't have to be super exact. Cut it into slices, then lay your slices on your board, and then we're going to cut those slices into slices. It's a lot of slices, right? Don't go slicing. Okay, so that's what you want, about 10 centimeter strips of beef. Nice and thin, not too thick, because this is sort of, I guess, flash fried until it's nice and crispy. If it's too thick, you won't get a nice sort of chew to your beef, which you really, really want. It makes it extra delicious. Next thing, topside, it's not automatically as tender as, say, a fillet steak, okay? And it never is. This is always a dish that is used with a slightly cheaper cut of meat like topside. You could use rump if you can't find topside. So, we're going to use a little bit of bicarb soda. And so just sprinkle it over the top. Just one teaspoon is enough. And then just use your hands and just incorporate that bicarb all the way into your beef. That's incorporated. We'll set that to the side for a second. And then we're going to make the marinade. So, real simple. 1 onion. We're going to hit this with a stick blender. So just help your stick blender a little bit by chopping it up into a canister. I think it was, I'm trying to remember the name of the Chinese restaurant that we had when we were kids. I think it was called the Mayflower. It was amazing. And this was just, I reckon it was one of my favorite dishes. I think, you know, there's like sweet and sour chicken and sweet and sour pork or whatever, but then I remember one day having this dish and just thinking, wow, the spice is amazing. Like, I think it was probably the first time that I'd ever tried Szechuan pepper and not being told what it was either. I just remember having a numb mouth and going, wow, that's crazy. So garlic, I've put a couple of cloves in there. And then a nice little knob of ginger. A knob of ginger. What is that? Who says that? Why is a knob a measurement? I'm going to revolt against that. I don't like it. A knob. You're a knob. All right, a little bit of light soy sauce to get the mix going. In we go. And then we're going to give it a little stick blend. A little... That's enough of that. Stick blended. Done. So what we have is a nice, fragrant, salty from the soy sauce mix that now goes onto our beef as the marinade. So just incorporate your marinade through your beef. And it's good to do this about an hour before you're going to cook it. The longer it's in there, the more flavor it's going to impart, but be careful, because if it's in there for way too long, you're going to have an over-marinated, salty beef. So I use an hour, about the whole mark. You can marinate it. There's plenty of time. So I've got one that I did earlier, which is here. Have a look at how it changes. So that's what the salt does. The salt starts to, and the bicarb starts to break down the beef, and you can see the difference between the two, what that marinade does. Pretty cool. Yes, it is, Jock. It's really cool. Next step is flour. I've got a ratio of 2 parts of potato starch to 1 part cornstarch. That's going to give us 2 things. One, a delicious coating that protects the beef and keeps all the juices inside. But also that mix of flour is going to give us the crispiness that this dish is famous for. So we need a crispy outside because it's going to go in this sort of thick coating of Szechuan spicy sauce. So this flour mix needs to grab onto the beef and protect it, but it also needs to be crispy because we're going to hit it with a wet sauce, right? So get enough flour. It doesn't matter if you've got excess flour. But at this point, before you make the sauce, because we want to give it some time for the flour to stick to the beef and sort of incorporate, like become part of the beef almost. So just get your flour in there and give it a good mix around. And much like we do with fried chicken, we just leave the beef sitting in the flour and that'll absorb the marinade, firstly, but also any other juices in the beef, and then just help to stick it all together and keep it on there. All right, I've got a wok. I'm going to make my sauce in a wok, essentially. So, honey, first up. This brings the sweetness in bucket loads, obviously. There's a good whack of honey in there. Then I've got some hoisin sauce. Couple of spoons. I've got some water, really important. It's not much, 100 grams. Then I've got some dark soy sauce. So dark soy sauce is like, or black soy sauce. It's not ketchup mayonnaise. It's like, it's soy sauce, like it's a sweet soy sauce that isn't ketchup mayonnaise. And then light soy sauce, a little bit more of that. Now, Shaoxing, delicious, so Chinese cooking wine. And then I've got some oil. So I'm going to put a recipe up for this. This is a Szechuan chili oil, chili paste. We'll put a link for it below, but this is super spicy, right? Loads of chilies, loads of Szechuan peppercorns that have been toasted off and then ground up. Look at it. Ooh, yum. So I'm gonna add like a lot of this. Now, depending on your heat tolerance, I like this spicy. Szechuan food is spicy, right? One last thing that we need in here is some sourness. So red wine vinegar, good glug, don't be shy. And then we're going to get this on the heat to reduce. All right, so the sauce has been reducing for about sort of 5-6 minutes. I'm happy with the flavor. I've got a little bit of cornstarch slurry, cornstarch and water, simple as that. I'm going to use that to thicken it. Now I'm happy with the flavor. I want to get that sort of thick, glossy texture to the sauce. I'm just going to add it in. Look at that. Yum! All right, sauce ready to go, nice and hot. Let's have a look at our beef. So this has been had now probably about all up 15-20 minutes sitting in the flour. And you can see, just have a look at all those little crags of beautiful flour that's stuck to the beef. It's all beautifully covered and sticky, or was sticky, but not with the flour. So what we want to do now is just grab the beef in our hands, because we want to add it all into the oil at the one time. My oil temperature currently is at 170 degrees, because when I add this beef into it, it's going to drop by 10 degrees roughly. And then I want to do the first fry at 160 degrees, right? So we're going to fry it twice, once at 160 and then once at 180 to crisp it up. So nice and safely, drop our beef into the oil, turn your heat up in your oil. So as the temperature comes back up, again, we're looking for 160 here. Just make sure the beef separates out a little bit. All right, while that's frying, let's get the garnish ready. So really quite simply, spring onions, delicious, crunchy, fresh, and tasty. And also, I've got some toasted sesame seeds. So with this, I love actually having some green spring onion and some of the white stuff as well. So just when I do spring onions, I go like that. And then double it back over, and then it's just nice and quick. Slice them really nice and finely. I remember the spring onions when I was a kid and just thinking to myself, what's going on with those? Taste like onion, but it's not onion. I had no idea what spring onion was when I was little. So we got some of the green, which is great. So now I'll get some of the white as well. Again, nice and fine. I can start to smell the ginger and the garlic cooking on that. It smells amazing. It just reminds me of being a kid. Beef's cooking away nicely. Our garnish is ready. I've got some sesame seeds here. I've just toasted these nice and lightly, nice and golden brown. They're going to go on top along with the spring onions. And the dish is ready. Pick yourself a nice plate. When you put this on the table, right, everyone is going to smash it in minutes. The quicker you eat it, the better it is, always. But believe me, once you have one little bit of this, you get that numbing Szechuan pepper kind of situation going on in your mouth. A little bit of rice to cool you down. Happy days, right? Pick yourself a nice plate. All right, so that's been cooking for about 5-6 minutes. Just have a look at this. It's sort of golden brown. And this is the first stage of the fry only. So now we want to pump the oil up till it gets to 180 degrees for the second fry. So as it makes it nice and crispy. So what happens, just let me explain why we double fry, right? Can you hear that? That's the moisture inside the oil that's come from the beef, right? So a double fry means as this sits and rests, all the liquids from the beef comes to the outside and it starts to get a little bit soggy, right? What we're looking for is crispy shredded beef, not soggy shredded beef. So you need to double fry it. Bringing the oil up to 180 degrees is going to give us a crisp outside, and from there it's going to go into the sauce. So just give it 5 minutes to rest while the oil's coming up to 180 degrees. Okay, temperature of the oil's back up now, so it is at 190 degrees. I put this back in, it's going to drop 10 degrees. We're crisping at 180 degrees, okay? So just very carefully, be careful because it's really hot. Get it back in to crisp up. Just separate it out a little bit as it goes. So at this point, heat your sauce back up again, just so as it's just warmed through. But this is only going to take a minute, and then it's going to be back out. So a little bit fresh paper towel in our bowl. So have a look at this. You can see the colour is a dark golden brown now. That, nothing says crispy like that. Have a look at it. Oh yeah. All right, out she comes into our bowl. Get rid of any excess oil. Keep the missus happy. Strain the oil off. Keep it healthy. All right. Now, straight into the sauce. Yes, you can hear it. You can hear how crispy that is. Hear it? And so that crispiness is essential because we're hitting it with that delicious, glossy, wet sauce. Can you hear it? Yes. Come on. I hear lunchtime too. That's all I hear right now. So it should be glossy, black, and rich and delicious looking. That's the main thing. So let's just have a little, man, that was proper exercise. I don't know how they do it in the Chinese restaurants, seriously. All that walk action. I'm not trained for it, you know? Oh, the color. Look at the color. It's so rich and glossy and inviting looking. Oh. Honestly, I could be 6 or 7 again eating this. It's sensational. Anyway, I digress. Look at that. Come on. Garnish. As it was, albeit it was in a tin foil takeaway container back in the days. A little bit of toasted sesame. And there it is. Crispy shredded Szechuan beef. This is a winner. You can do it with beef, you can do it with pork, you could even do it with fish if you wanted. Childhood memories. Come on. Thanks for watching, and if you liked that, please click subscribe because there's plenty more where that came from. Also, if there's a recipe that you actually want to see me make, chuck it in the comments below and we'll get around to it. Thanks for watching.